So I'll go ahead and start answering questions. And at some point, in between these questions, I am going to tell you all the story of Revest, since I guess is the first time we've actually had one of these things, beyond the few text ones that we had back during the launch. So the first question looks like it's from Max Zor, and that's what is planned for staking. So with the staking system, the Medium article outlines pretty much everything I can think of off the top of my head. But what we're doing with it is initially for the first 6 months, we're going to be distributing 2.5 million Revest tokens. And we've actually got a distribution going through right now, waiting on our final Gnosis signature before we can send that out to y'all today. Once we go through those tokens, about halfway through, 3 and 4 months in, we're going to turn on the fee engine. And the fee engine will work such that we can put it. We collect a fee from people who mint FNFTs using Revest. We haven't decided what that fee is going to be quite yet. We have a lot of ideas about how to structure it. It could be a flat rate, it could be a percentage, it could be based on the amount of supply you're locking up. So, kind of a progressive fee in that case. There's all sorts of ways to do it. And what we realized during development is that without actually having usage data of the platform, it's very difficult to decide what that fee is going to be. However, we now are beginning to gather that data, and once we have, we can formulate an effective strategy for how we're going to be charging it. Once we've done that, and those fees begin to flow, 99% of them will be going to Revest stakers. The remaining 1% will go directly to the liquidity pool, increasing the amount in there over time. Next question. Is there an ETA for the 3 partnerships in regards to when they will begin using the protocol? So I believe we've done EcoFi. Yes, depends on the partnership. The very first one of those is going to be doing something sometime next week, and that's what I can tell you right now. I'm excited about that. In regards to the integrations with marketplaces, those will be a little bit longer, not very, since that's pretty much entirely front end stuff. And with regards to the folks who are partnering with at Strip, we're going to be integrating with them as they move on to the Ethereum blockchain, which we do not have a current time frame on. However, we are very excited to see how that develops over time. How old am I? Kayubi asks. So I am 27. Birthday is in May. It's born in 1994. Just got married about 8 weeks ago. So been a very big year for me. Andrew Minton, FNFT artwork. Any plans to allow stakers to provide their own artwork to the FNFT, especially for marketplaces? So, with respect to stakers, yes, Theta, you are quite welcome to hop in on the partnership side. So, with respect to the stakers, when we do allow for artwork FNFTs, that's going to be a more limited use case system. It's on a more case-by-case basis. Not really for staking, but if we're talking about partnerships, then absolutely. There are people who you're working with who are going to be having FNFTs that include artwork in them come out in the near future. Of course, that'll show up only on OpenSea. We may include some feature on our front end at some point that allows you to view it there, but primarily that JPEG will be rendered by OpenSea and similar websites. So, am I going to watch the new James Bond movie? Maybe. I honestly haven't been to a movie theater in years. Not since I had a particularly bad taste in my mouth from The Last Jedi. That's the last time I've been to a movie theater. Why George Lazenby? Because of Her Majesty, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is objectively the best James Bond movie ever made, in my opinion. It's fantastic. It gets into, and I know that's a controversial opinion, but it actually gets into a little bit of emotional depth. It's got, oh Jesus, what's her name? She was the best Bond girl. She played Emma Peel in Avengers, and not the Avengers a lot of y'all are thinking about. Just a fantastic actress overall. Let's see. Diana Rigg. That's it. Yeah, Diana Rigg. Also in Game of Thrones. Funny. A lot older by that point. So let's see what else we got in here. What is that little white dot in the top right of the Q1? I don't know. You ever play Halo Reach and realize how it connects to Destiny? Used to do a lot of those Bungie video games back in the day, so who knows? Burbuzz, yes, I am. Yes, Mr. Sagan. Thank you. So let's see.
Well, I'll
Look,
just quick here while people ask more questions.
you
You
can
mind if
you
I?
can jump in, Thado. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit on the partnership front a moment ago. By the way, guys, I'm Thado. I'm
And
Revest Chief Business Officer, an old friend of Rob's. So, we have we got we've only announced four, I think, so far, potentially more. I'm even losing track, but we have a number more in the pipeline. What we really trying to develop here is both partnerships that create a very easy and accessible market for FNFTs, so functionally it will allow you to trade, transfer if that's your desired use, and then also kind of inherent use cases and create value that way. At the end of the day, a lot of people have been or ask in chat, and I'm sure you guys that are here are aware of this. When marketing. Although we do have a lot of stuff going in there, and are being very conscious about what funds are worthwhile spending. We're not going to throw your funds into things that aren't worthwhile and aren't generating returns. What's really going to help this project grow and functionally drive returns to token holders at the end, or token stakers at the end of the day, is standard use cases, and that's done through the two methods of one, having different projects and protocols use their FNFTs, and I'm very excited about the work we've done there, what's already announced, and have I don't want to share too much here, but have done a significant amount of work as well, and are very happy with where we are. I guess it's not announced, and we're very happy where we are right now, and where we're headed, and where we'll be by the time the fee engine is turned on and the Revest is replaced with straight Ethereum. And then again, on the liquidity side of things, our FNFTs are exchangeable on OpenSea, but it's having dedicated FNFT marketplaces with other providers that we see as being innovators in the space and moving upwards really does create kind of a long-term sustainable again market for you guys, which is where kind of the other key component of what will drive value here. And again, in that part, we are well ahead of where we had ever thought we'd be as well. So I think that just to circle back on that partnership side of things, we're very excited about where we've come, what's still to come, and where we are right now, what's still to come. But that's kind of where our focus is at the moment.
we have uh, we have some stuff planned for y'all that you are barely. If I told you right now what is actually going to be coming up, you would think that I was insane or pulling your leg. Uh, some of the chats I'm in right now, I honestly can't believe that I'm in. It's pretty crazy. So let's see. Will there be more lock options for the FNFTs? Chico mentioned Oracle. So what we have right now is we have that. We have the time lock, which allows you to set up an FNFT to unlock after a certain period of time. And that's the very first one. We have the value lock, which we've set up to allow you to lock any ERC20 in there until the value of one asset relative to another, as specified by an oracle, has reached a certain point. The current oracles that we are offering are the Uniswap V2 TWAP oracle, time weight average price, and a Chainlink price feeds oracle. We are working to integrate Uniswap V3 in there at some point, and we've also got a as yet unannounced partnership that's going to be providing a more versatile Uniswap V2 arbitrary token time weight average price oracle. So I'll be getting into the details of that, sometime in the future. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with value right now. The final one of those is the address lock, and those are by far the most versatile. If you guys go to the site right now, and you can actually play around with Rinkby at this point. So yeah, so the Oracle. Okay, so Kyubi, especially when you look at the oracles on the testnet, you'll see something that says path to oracle does not exist. That's because those two tokens don't actually have an oracle. So if you're talking about something like Chainlink and DAI, there's no oracle that exists for that particular pairing. But if you look for Chainlink and WETH, on the Uniswap Oracle, that exists, or Chainlink and US dollar on the Chainlink Oracle, that exists. It's really a matter of picking a pairing that actually, either has a liquidity pool or has a Chainlink Oracle for it. And that is probably something that we need to be communicating a bit better. The third type of lock that I was getting into is the address lock. And the address lock is honestly the one that I think I'm most excited for. Have been for a while. Address locks can do anything. We've got it set up now so that you can see two examples in our presets, but you can actually just paste an address in there and that'll work. It can be your wallet, so you can have it so that only your wallet can unlock an FNFT. Or it could even be something a bit more complex, like, I don't know. Let's say you wanted to have an FNFT unlock when a Chainlink any API Oracle reads an RSS price feed on the ClearNet that tells you that people are walking on the moon again. That's something you can write. Our current examples are the combo lock and the supply lock. And what's really cool about these locks is you can reuse them and you can set them up so that when you write one on your own, if you're a dev, you can actually specify what fields you want our front end to collect. And you do that via a metadata file. It takes the data, it compresses it into a byte stream, and you can do this with any arbitrary data set you want. Our front end there's actually a domain specific language that I wrote for our front end that allows you to just go in, write a JSON file specifying what fields you want to collect from our front end, which then will relay that to your contract on the blockchain. So you can really write an address lock that does anything, and you can just share it with the community. And if we like it enough, we'll actually integrate it right into that preset area. So what do I foresee the biggest use case for FNFTs being? I'd say the biggest use case I can think of off the top of my head, Jesus Christ, that's a tough one. If you want to talk about pure market cap, then definitely derivatives. I really think that the derivatives market cap in the traditional economy, a lot of people don't realize this, but derivatives are the largest economy in the world. It's $1 quadrillion in market cap, which isn't actually a real value of money that exists anywhere, but because derivatives are not real money, it works. So FNFTs can actually, because we can tokenize these non-fungible positions, I've written this a few times in the chat, it's what we really are, is we can tokenize non-fungible positions, and derivatives are a prime example of that. When you're talking about a derivative, you're talking about something that has a bunch of independent variables. You're talking about something that you have to choose a pair of assets. Let's use a call option. A pair of assets have to be chosen. The first of these is the asset the derivative is the call option is on, so like F or Revest or Link. And the second one is the settlement asset, the thing it'll be paid in, the price. So in this case, it could be US dollar coin, it could be F, it could be Link again, it could be anything. So you've already got two choices. Then you've got to choose an expiration date. And then finally, you've got to choose a strike price. Those are the four variables that any call option has to have. And with existing call options, you're either limited to a proprietary marketplace or you're limited to a very small subset of ERC20s that have very carefully sectioned off what options you can pick, like what that strike price can be, what that expiration date can be. And you don't have a lot of choices because otherwise you end up with like 1,000 different ERC20s and you can't get liquidity on any of them. So what Revest allows is for you to use existing marketplaces like OpenSea, other places are EcoFi, Zoracles, and you can tokenize these non-fungible positions into their true representation that is non-fungible tokens. So instead of using a really clunky scenario where we're kind of forcing everything into a box with an ERC20, we're actually allowing you to have that true continuum of options because you're creating an NFT when you tokenize that position. So I definitely think that just in terms of pure market cap, if the CeFi world translates to the DeFi world in the way that I think a lot of people expect it to, you would see FNFTs getting a lot of use in that area. So let's see. Integrations with Mystics. I definitely like Alchemist, but I don't quite know where we'd integrate with Mystics. It's an interesting thought, though. Let me file that one away for later. How are we on L2 integrations, BNet op tasks? So right now, the team is mainly focused on getting the educational material put together that we've been talking about for marketing. I'm finishing up the docs. That's to be done this afternoon. And the rest of the team is already off kind of working on a list of things we want to communicate, use cases, etc. Once we've done that, then we will have, a bit more time to dedicate to actually exploring which L2s we really like. We see a lot of teams in this space tossing themselves headfirst into launching on Binance Smart Chain and Polygon, oh, cool, now we're going to launch on Phantom, now we're going to launch on this, that, the other. And there's no reason we can't do that, technologically speaking. But from a focus perspective, I don't like the philosophy. To me, it seems like you're spreading yourself way too thin. You have a bunch of different communities suddenly trying to exist in the same space because Binance has a different community than Ethereum and Polygon has a different community than Binance. And you end up with a very dissonant structure where some people are getting better prices and there's resentment and confusion about mechanics and things break down, bridges cause problems. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess in my experience. So our focus right now is to do research once we've finished the educational material. A lot of research, watch how things kind of play out, and we'll just go from there. We like Arbitrum, we like optimism. Yeah, not optimism. It's is it optimism? It is optimism, I think. Yeah, the two optimistic rollups. Ideally, ZKs are great, but I don't know of any early available ZKs yet. I mean, there is Immutable X, but as far as I know, from what I've gathered looking at them, they have a bit of a problem with centralization. But I also haven't had the time to do the research yet, and that's why we're taking this quarter to do that research and get our ducks all in a row. I think one of the worst things for any company is to any project is to lose focus and try to do too many things at once. There's a Steve Jobs quote, and of course, yes, the tech CEO is quoting Steve Jobs. How novel. There's a Steve Jobs quote, though, that goes, mark of a good leader is deciding what not to do. And I think that's really something that we have to keep in mind when running this company, project, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Somebody from Profundity. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good to see you. Yeah. Funny story that actually. This is a good chance to tell the story of Revest, actually. So early this year, I came back. I've been in crypto forever. I found Bitcoin in 2012. I told my parents, hey, Dad, it's going to be huge. Give me $10,000. I'll make us so much money. I was in high school at the time. And of course, they didn't listen and told me to stop gambling, get back to work. Bitcoin was $40 a token at that point. So just kind of stuck around, bought a few Bitcoin, spent one on a fake ID, college. Lost the other one when Mt. Gox rugged everybody, still trying to get it back. But stayed into crypto. I traded throughout the early 2000s, 2010s. Moved into Ethereum in 2017, started mining, nearly set my apartment on fire when my GPU blew up. Turns out 1070s don't like it when you overclock them. Interesting, Moonbeam. Okay, we'll take a look into it all. I've heard good things about Polkadot, but that didn't quite that went well. I mean, I made about one Ethereum from a small mining rig. The video card paid for itself. Got into Chainlink early. It was either 2018, 2019. I don't remember, but I bought Link when it was pretty cheap, and I was happy with that. Wish I'd bought more. But 2021 comes around. I'd just gotten engaged, and I've been doing this graduate program for a while. Haven't always been terribly excited about the work I've been doing. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a little kid. And while I was doing very interesting work in the field of memristors, it wasn't entirely fulfilling. Always been looking for, new opportunities, new avenues, new little startups to get involved with. Been involved with a ton of startups all throughout my college and graduate career. And so on the side of being a grad student at Georgia Tech, pursuing a doctorate in mechanical engineering, I decided, okay, I'm start a little validator or something. Looked into Chainlink, found that space was already pretty saturated. So I decided, okay, let's go find another Oracle coin. Found something called X Fund. Good token, underappreciated. And got into it. Started a validator, called it Profinity. Started making some money with that, and grew. I think we're actually the number one now. Just grew that. Took some of the funds I'd made working on it, and the NFT craze was going really strong then. Decided I wanted to try my hand at writing an NFT. I didn't want to just do a JPEG though. I found that to be kind of overdone. And I got into generative NFTs because I'd actually written a Minecraft mod back in 2011, Explosives Plus. A lot of fun writing that. And I'd tried to rewrite in 2018, but then I started grad school. So I had some equations from it that actually produced really cool sculptures. Went back, pulled the equations, dropped them into JavaScript, started doing rendering with that, and that led to negative entropy. Met James through a buddy, my web dev, and he and I put that together over the course of probably 14 days. That was exhausting. That was truly exhausting. But we got it working, and it did pretty well. And I was sitting around kind of bored afterwards, like, okay, what am I going to do now? It's going pretty well. We sold out more or less. And I got into, I was looking at this site called Beyond NFT because that's the protocol that I'd used to write it. Allowing for interactive NFTs. And I realized, okay, I saw this NFT that purported to be a live Bitcoin price feed, but it was actually a panda jumping on a slot machine with the numbers coming up on it. That was the live feed. Yes, it was a WebM. So I thought to myself, I can do better than this. And so I did. I pulled up JavaScript. I talked to Chainlink's price feeds, and I wrote an NFT. You can actually still find it on OpenSea, I think. That just displays it displays the Bitcoin price feed. It displays the Ethereum price feed. There's another one that does that too. So I just did that for kind of a fun exercise, and I realized, you can actually interact with on-chain data in NFTs. What if you did that with on-chain? What if you didn't do that in just the JavaScript? What if you did that in the Solidity? What's the name of it? Live Bitcoin price feed, I think. There's like 1,000 of those things. Go for it, man. Go to Beyond NFT. You can find it there. They're still sitting around. Didn't sell any of them. It was just a little proof of concept. But yeah, that went that gave me the idea for Revest. I just was like, okay, wait, that value lock. That's an idea. And I took it and started running with it and realized that there was a lot of space that had the need for a financial NFT. And so we got started on it. Reached out to some friends, met Fubar through a good buddy of mine, met Louis through my CINO Chris, who I'd known through Profundity, funny enough. Reached out to an old friend Mikkel, reached out to an old friend Thado, who I both knew to be excellent in the fields of marketing and business, respectively. And the team came together. We worked 4, 5, 6 months. I don't even remember anymore. It all started back late April, and just kind of snowballed from there. As we grew it, we realized this is not just a vesting solution. This is actually a full-fledged composable financial NFT, and the idea really just kind of unfolded before us. I'm really proud of what we made. So let's see some more questions. I said this is only going to go half an hour. We're going to go a little longer than that. So, do we have any competitors? No. I don't believe that we actually have any competitors in this space at all. There are certainly people who do legacy vesting. Competition? Nah. There's no one else who does financial NFTs, who does truly generalizable non-fungible tokens that can tokenize any financial position in DeFi. Uh, there's people who've had similar ideas, but there's no one who's actually had a successful execution, in my opinion. I'm aware of these things. Revest, I mean, the only people who I consider to be real competition in this space are folks like Synthetics. Actually, those are the big boys, and I think of us as a blue chip, and I suppose that makes them competitors. But to be quite honest, I'm not worried about competing. I'm just worried about growing. That is my goal: is to do what we do very, very well, and I don't worry about how having to engage in direct competition with anybody. It's a huge space, and we're going to be growing this pie very, very large. Any working with CBDCS? I do not know what that acronym means. Mover. I've heard of them in the Chico channel. I haven't had no. Protocol revenue. Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to see how much ETH you've accumulated just by looking at your FNFT. But yeah, we could put together some kind of a front end dashboard. That wouldn't be hard at all. Solidity is always much harder than JavaScript, and JavaScript is like an afternoon's work. NFTs inside FNFTs, it's planned. It is definitely planned. It'll be an interesting thing to work the kinks out of, but realistically, that's something that if I actually wanted to, I could probably just sit down in an afternoon and write the Solidity out more or less completely. All you need is an output receiver. Something people don't understand is that FNFTs don't actually have to contain value. They can represent an underlying complex interaction with a contract on chain. So I can just have an FNFT that acts purely as a placeholder. And when I withdraw from it, it tells a contract to do something else. So of having to do a bunch of really complex protocol rewrites to accommodate NFTs, it's not there. We just hook in a module and away we go. ListCon? Is that a convention? If so, I'd love to hear the details. We like conventions. I was out of Atlanta last weekend during launch. Mikkel, Thado, and we flew up to New York City on like 3 hours of sleep just to catch the tail end of mainnet. And I definitely, some of you were asking about our connections to certain individuals. I'm not going to breathe too much, but I did get to meet I got to meet in person some folks I've been looking forward to meeting. So it was a lot of fun. They're good people, and we had a great time having drinks. I'll just say that. Some more interesting applications. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, sometime in the near future. It's not even a daydream. I've already written it. You can separate interest and principal on any interest-bearing token. So A tokens, Y tokens, C tokens, any of the interest-bearing stuff. I mean, we already have native in Yearn. That's something I don't think a lot of people have realized quite yet. You could actually just make a bond if you wanted. My CFO tells me not to use the word bond, but most people think of that as bond. It's kind of a bond. It's not really, because bonds involve debt, but I digress. I really like the idea of being able to split up principal and interest. It's a cool concept, and we've got a working prototype. We'll be releasing it at some point in the near future. Who's the coolest mod? I love you all equally. Get out of here with that. Let's see. Would it be, what is this next one? Would it be, yeah, we actually have the, Kyubi. Would it be technically possible to lock an option to an FNFT? like a dydx f long position that unlocks only when f hits 10k. We actually have a prototype options contract that already exists. Yeah, that's it. You can put a call or put option on anything. The downside is that it's a covered call or put, so you have to put up the actual asset if you're creating it. It's not a debt instrument, which I think is what you're referring to. However, it is a fully functioning covered call or covered put on arbitrary sets of tokens, and we will be releasing that at some point in the near future, probably in Q1. Uh, it's one of those things where we could put it out sooner, but I would very much like that one to be operational on an L2, given that I know exactly how much gas it consumes. Laszlo asks, Laszlo, are you here to raid? Okay. No, we are not. But I wrote a very long explanation about those individuals on our Telegram, and you can go read it there. Theta will be happy to send it to you. If we hit $5 flying the team out to Japan, I'm gonna take you up on that. I would love to visit Japan. My wife and I, we talked about it for our honeymoon. Oh God, I've had Kobe beef, no Wagyu, real Wagyu, once in my life. Matsuhisa, Los Angeles, best food I've probably ever had in my life. I need to visit Japan. Rocket pool. That sounds like a staking it, system, and the team doesn't really have any designs on staking. That is something you could do with an FNFT. We've seen that Alchemist has had a lot of success there, and well, they're doing quite well. If I met an FNFT locking Chainlink, do I receive rewards also? So if you're locking any other token, no, you don't get staking rewards. If you lock your Revest tokens to our staking system, you get staking rewards. But just locking the tokens in the FNFT does not inherently give you anything now. It's not like a staking system. It's just a locking system. You can make staking systems with it, but it's not by default a staking system. Can you add the ability to hide FNFT balance in the OpenSea icon? Yeah, you could do that. It's on a case-by-case basis. You would have to actually directly contact the team for that. If you actually want to know, though, you can just ask the contact. It's not something we can. That's all in the blockchain. If you want to just hide it from the public view, theoretically, it's really easy to change the config the metadata file. That's simple. The blockchain, not even possible. This isn't like a zk roll up or anything. We're not Monero. We're not any of the stuff that the folks over, I think, Panther are doing, where you can actually hide transactional history. Conference in Lisbon. Okay, yeah. Theta, can you or Theta or Mikkel, one of y'all, can you go ahead and write that down? I am interested in looking into that. I'd love to visit Portugal. I've heard good things. Okay. If I value lock a token until it hits 1K, what if another does and goes to 0? Yes, it will be locked forever. If you want to have an assured unlock, I recommend you use the combo lock. That's actually designed exactly to address that concern. It literally does that. It allows you to set an and or condition between value and time. So eventually we'll probably allow for arbitrary complexity combo locks, which is, I think, something that's on the roadmap. It's on our internal one. And that would just kind of be a cool little feature. If anyone in the community wants to write that, that's probably a pretty easy thing to do as well. The concept being you can actually do complex logic like unlock if value above this or time has elapsed, and unlock if value above this or time has elapsed. Complex statements. Oh yeah. I guess I have told y'all that you are a scooter. Yeah, I appreciate y'all being here. Have we looked into Pulse Chain? I do not know what that is. We'll add it to the list of L2s that we are really just we're down to look into pretty much any L2 in existence right now. We want to choose the one that we think will have the best chance of long-term growth and sustainability. We do not want to end up in a situation where we have uncontrollable state growth problems that eventually cause the entire chain to collapse under its own weight. If Fubar was here, he could. He has some opinions on these things. You should check his Twitter. Definitely be careful who you trust. There's a lot of folks who talk about fixing the trilemma, but the problem is state growth, and the trilemma is a trilemma. It's not something you can actually fix, fundamentally speaking. L2s do a good solution. Sharding does a pretty good solution. But actual F killers, no. And please, if you actually, don't get me started on stuff like Cardano. Just don't get me started. various actually seeing transactions on that one. Oh yeah. Michael knows what I'm talking about with Japanese Wagyu. Only decentralized staking pool. Okay, that's very interesting to know, Jor. That is, ZKs are absolutely something I'm very interested in. I really like the concept of ZK rollups. It seems like that's what Ethereum themselves are kind of favorable towards. I can't remember if optimism is based off of plasma. I think it's been like 3 or 4 months since I did a really deep dive into L2s and what isn't actually a real L2. Stuff like Polygon is not, as far as I'm aware, an L2. I think it's a plasma chain. Stuff like obviously Optimism and Arbitrum are both actually L2s. They're optimistic rollups. Stuff like Immutable X is a ZK rollup, and ZKs are what Vitalik himself seems to be favoring. So, hey, if Vitalik thinks it's a pretty good idea, it's probably a pretty good idea. Yeah, I've heard of Loopring. Will X1 get a use case with you guys? So, like I said, not getting too deep into the weeds on unannounced partnerships, though they are well aware of us. There are spaces in the Oracle market right now where there's no one. I'll say that much. And having someone operate is definitely a net benefit. The downside of the Uniswap TWAP that we currently have, the V2 one, the V3 ones work better, but that also requires the token to have a V3 pool. So the downside with the V2 is that, of course, that doesn't even work on other chains or other exchanges. The downside is with a V2 TWAP, you have to make 2 updates. You have to send an update when you create it, and then you have to make a second measurement later on. And that's how you actually get the price. If you were to just measure the price of the liquidity pool, at that instant, it allows for price hacking, where I go in, I make a flash loan from Aave. I buy everything in a pool with that Aave, that flash loan. I use that to price hack the value lock to unlock when I want to, and then I walk off. So you got to be careful with that, and that's why there's a need for the current Uniswap V2 TWAP, though, sometimes when you unlock, send 2 transactions, which is a downside. It's a pain. It's a less optimal user experience. So moving away from that would be yes. And I do think that some of those folks who I just talked about could help us in that regard. Any connection to GameStop? No, we are not connected to GameStop. I love this rumor, but we have no connections to GameStop. No. Is an exchange listing planned? We are considering it. I don't really like them, to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of tokens list on exchanges thinking that it's going to be a net benefit somehow, and it usually is. Mature tokens listing on exchanges, that's a different story. Chainlink listing on Coinbase, positive thing, but at that point, Chainlink was already quite mature, and it was also a different time. I don't know if I actually believe that exchanges are a net benefit at this point. And you see a lot of arbitrage. You see just not necessarily positive things for the token's long-term value. I don't really like centralized exchanges. I don't like the concept even. I'd list on Coinbase, definitely Coinbase. If they showed up and they wanted to work with us, yeah, they got a good name. But it's kind of like well, comparing yourself to someone. If you list on an exchange that has a bad reputation, or even a suboptimal reputation, your reputation becomes inherently tied to that exchange. It's the same as any association. So like I said, we consider ourselves to be a future blue chip. We, in my mind, the only thing that separates myself from Aave is adoption rate. The technologies themselves, in terms of being a new paradigm for DeFi. Oh, absolutely. And for that reason, I'm really kind of I'm sheepish about anything to do with, for lack of a better term, shitcoin tokenomics. I don't like the idea of doing things directly in our native token, even. I like the idea of our native token being used for revenue distribution, sure, but actually being utilized in a way that it would be anything else, I feel like a lot of times that can be kind of a gimmick. Same way about anything that's too funky, too just unpleasant. It might leave a stain on us. I'm not entirely on board with it. Revest has got we've got a lot of good we can do in DeFi, and I don't want to get us bogged down in something that turns out to be a bad deal later. Well, we do AMAs on a regular basis. Oh, thank you, Jor. I appreciate it. It'll be likely there's some regularity. Can't commit to anything because there could be a week where we can't do it or something along those lines. But yeah, you should definitely expect AMAs regularly-ish. I like talking with y'all. I like actually communicating this dream that I've got to you because I remember Mikkel and I months ago, before I even had actually launched Negative Entropy, we were sitting out by the Atlanta Beltline having a beer together and talking about NFTs. And his opinion was, that art NFTs made absolutely no sense. And I'm a bit more bullish on the art FNFTs, but what we both really agreed on was that the future of NFTs was financial, and that was really where things were headed. And I don't think at that point that I could have imagined that I'd actually be the person getting to lead that, but it's really cool. It's really quite an honor to be honest, be pushing that forward. I suppose the old saying comes to mind: if not now, when? If not who? Me. If not me, whom? And yeah, it's really cool to be actually involved in making financial NFTs a real thing, because I think that financial NFTs are going to change the world. NFTs have already had a huge impact. That's just the first little wave. Okay, let's see. Do I see Revest being built on by projects? Absolutely. I think that is one of the big cores of our business, in fact, is to become a fundamental DeFi Lego. Exact same way that Aave is a DeFi staple. That if you need a large amount of money for something, you take out a flash loan. It's easy. And if you need an NFT to represent a non-fungible position or trigger a non-fungible interaction in your system, use a Revest FNFT. To me, I want FNFTs to be the first thing that people think of when they're thinking of something like that. You see a few other DeFi Legos coming, kind of like how Chainlink is a very good example. When people think Oracle, they think Chainlink because Chainlink was the first, and they did such a good job of explaining their product, explaining what they were doing. So now whenever you hear Oracle, you think Chainlink. Whenever you hear Flashling, you think Aave. That's wonderful branding. That's wonderful just getting it out there, explaining what you do and communicating what your vision is to people. And I want Revest to do that so well that when people think of non-fungible token financial position, they think FNFT Revest. What was Fuar's part? He is the chief solidity officer, and he is on a much needed vacation. He's done his main job of helping us write the protocol, still around, just as kind of a buddy advisor, hangs out. But his main job of actually helping us get the code across the finish line is he did a fantastic job, and it's mostly done, I'd say. Not getting listed on centralized exchanges. Money. I mean, it's an argument win flow. I don't think that there's a significant number of influx from centralized exchanges or tokens that. Yeah, I don't think that leaves an amount on the table in my experience. I think that's a bit of a fallacy, since to trade on a centralized exchange, you have to send your Ethereum to that exchange. You have to pay that exchange's fees, which are often similar to the gas fees you're already paying to do a Uniswap trade. You have to send your tokens back, which is another fee. And I don't know. I think genuinely the best solutions to those problems are just waiting around for low gas fees. It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. Identity applications. I mean, hey, it's not something that I think myself or the team will be developing, but absolutely is something that can be developed using the endpoints we've created. And that's a lot of how I see much of this platform's potential being realized. We've already got several people building on us that I'm aware of, and I'm sure that's only going to grow as I actually get the documentation for the developers written up. One of my tasks for the next few days. Once that's out there, yeah, I think people who I show this to, they are instantly blown away at my experience when they realize, oh, this is it's a turnkey solution. I can just hook right into this and do this, huh? It saves them a ton of time on actually sort of value storage mechanic themselves. Rather, they only have to worry about the lock storage mechanic. And that's good for so many people. It's good for experienced devs because it saves them a ton of time. It's good for inexperienced devs because, okay, cool, you screwed up and now your lock is broken. It fails open. But it fails open on Revest, not in the wild. And instead of people being able to withdraw everything, the only issue is the people who hold the FNFT can now cash it in early. In other words, it allows for a additional layer of security for less experienced devs to cut their teeth on without catastrophic implications. Letter of credit. You'd have to ask Theta. Quite probably. He's got some crazy ideas around, I believe, convertible debt, though he hates it when I tell people that. It's real. There really are some very interesting things you can do with this protocol once you start getting into the weeds. If it's a concept, you can. I don't believe anyone is recording, unfortunately. I have no clue how to do that. I only just set up this stage like 20 minutes ago. But oh geez, what was the other thing? Collateralized lending was another one we came up with the other day. The concept that you can so in normal finance, when you take out a loan, someone owns the rights to liquidate that loan if you don't make the payments. They can liquidate the collateral. In many cases, we have debt in the traditional financial system, so they own the rights to that debt. Bad debt is, junk bonds. I believe that's a good way to put that. And there's all sorts of trading that goes on with that. What Revest could empower, we've actually been talking about, is let's say you want to take out a loan. Okay, you borrow tokens from someone, and they give you, well, you have to put up collateral since it is an over collateralized loan on Ethereum, but they own the rights to that collateral as an FNFT, and they can maybe even fractionalize that into multiple FNFTs. So suddenly you can start trading the rights to liquidate a loan to other people. If you have a particularly good reputation, you could take out your loan with someone who's known to not liquidate loans for you, as long as you're good on the payments and is more tolerant of you because you've got better recommendations, better reputation. Suddenly you've actually started to replicate aspects of debts, well, not the debt system, but debt-like instruments in a DeFi setting. And you've gotten rid of the downside that lending pools have, where all loans are kind of treated equal. There's less risk, but also less potential reward from a system that does that. Pools smooth that out. But if you could suddenly do this sort of transaction I'm talking about, where the actual rights to the collateral to liquidate the collateral is now liquid itself, and you can just trade it on OpenSea, things get a lot more interesting. What are upcoming collabs? Can't name any, unfortunately. Not NDAs, just professional courtesy. And if I named them ahead of time, it would probably blow up in my face. However, we are very interested in partnering with launchpads. We see our first vertical as vesting. When I say vertical, I mean our first kind of market niche to conquer. What we think is the best way to go about that is by getting in with launchpads. Because if you're in with a launchpad, then you can have direct access to teams who are doing investing solutions right then and now. You can offer them, your services. You can offer the launchpad a benefit. And we see that as really the best way to kind of bootstrap ourselves into that vesting vertical and achieve the kind of results we want to see this quarter. Where do I see it by the end of 2022? I got one word for you, Winflow: ubiquitous. So I think we're going to go ahead and do a question. Following that, it'll be 3:30, and this will have been going on for an hour, and I've unfortunately got to get back to writing docs. But let's go ahead and see if anything comes along. Launchpads, yeah, we're excited for that. Copper, I don't actually. I've heard some people discuss it. I believe it's Alchemist's fair launchpad, and it definitely interests me. It's just I don't actually know if vesting has any place in a fair launch. Like that to me seems a little antithetical to the entire notion of fair launch, which is that there is no privileged access in the way that a seed round, pre-sale, or any of those more traditional structures have. So I like Alchemist, but I just don't know if that's actually a realistic vector for the development of a partnership with them. There's a bot that does that. Yeah, being at going to be doing the next AMA on YouTube. We would have done this one on YouTube had it not been for the unfortunate issue that YouTube demands a 24-hour waiting period from the first time you click go live to the time that you can actually go live. Rather odd. Let's see, I get some DMs. Anything about this AMA? Nothing I haven't already answered. Tokenize off-chain assets. If there was someone who wanted to interface the off-chain assets and us and use us as a general platform, then yes. Absolutely, we could tokenize off-chain assets. We don't see that as a particularly strong trust for our development personally, but the platform's definitely flexible enough. You can basically plug anything you want into the inputs of Revest to create these how you like and record data about them. And then you can receive further data at the output when someone withdraws. So we've got both an input and an output. And to say that this, you actually provide even updates in the middle if you want. To say that the platform is in fact technically Turing complete is accurate. Fubar and I have joked about this quite a bit, that we that we wrote a Turing complete platform without really intending to. We just wanted to provide as much flexibility in how people can implement as we possibly could. That's just what happened. You could, in theory, if you wanted to, you could probably write Ethereum in Revest. Be very inefficient, mind you. But all right, I think that's probably about it for today. Exactly, very composable. It's yeah, we'll see. It's been an absolute pleasure, y'all. I love talking about what we're doing here. I love talking about this dream that I've had, that by the patience, the goodwill of this community, and the fantastic people that I have managed to pull into this team, I've been able to realize. It's absolutely just blown away that we've done it. I'm really excited to see where we're taking it, and to get to show y'all where we're taking it. It's going to get a lot more exciting. So, y'all have a fantastic afternoon, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.